Welcome in everyone to Flyover Footy, presented by Noble Ice Vineyards. My name is Matt Baker, here with a bit of a different show than what we have for our Fallout or our main show. We're doing a midweek MLS recap with some City notes from training on Tuesday. First up, we'll look at City's training. We heard from Thomas Totland and Coach Bradley Carnell at training after they completed it, and we heard some interesting comments from Thomas Totland in regard to Chicho Arango. He had some strong statements that he made. Bradley Carnell had some things to say about last week's game, looking forward, how training's been going this week. But we're going to start it off hearing from Thomas Totland regarding Chicho Arango and the no call in the penalty box.
When somebody hits you, it should be a red card. But yeah, I'm not the one making the calls, so I can't really tell what they're thinking. But yeah.
So regardless of what the VAR might have seen, it felt like he hit you in the chest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, people say that he tried to take my arm away, but I don't think that was holding him that hard. I think it was a clear arm. Like he tried to get me.
Thomas Totland, of course, the man who would know, being involved in that play, says it pretty clearly. I think he disagrees with not only VAR, but some of the MLS shows that looked at that play afterwards, being the man who was actually involved in it. And though the benefit of camera angles to overturn that or to give Chicho Arango a red card weren't there, Thomas Totland feels like justice was not served in that case. We also heard from Bradley Carnell, who had some things to say when I asked him regarding chance creation, opportunities that St. Louis had against RSL, and how he felt his team performed.
Sure, we try and mitigate, especially against an opponent. I don't think it got to do with anything a chance creation. I just thought it was, a couple of baseline principles that got away from us on the day, and using our body, as a tool. To protect the ball, to get certain momentum, we gave away too many fouls in the defensive half. So, these are things we have to mitigate. We play aggressive, but not to the aggressive. If we make fouls, we break the pressure that we want to put on the opponent. So actually fouling is not part of our game model. We want to make less fouls, but be more, have more pressures on the opponent. So yeah, we're trying to work through some of those things, not to give up silly, easy fouls that now alleviate the pressure of the opponent. We actually want to accelerate the pressure on the opponent. So, a few learning moments there in that category.
We'll have more from St. Louis City on Thursday's training for our main show. So stick with us on Friday when we release that in podcast format. Next, we're going to look at MLS. One of the things that we don't get to as often on either show, Fallout or our main Flyover Footy, is a look at the broader MLS landscape. And that's one of the goals of this quick midweek show, is to give some highlights that you might have otherwise missed in some of the matchups, specifically in the Western Conference, to get a feel for maybe how to judge how St. Louis City is doing this season so far. First up, we're going to take a look at 5 matches. And first up, I have Colorado Rapids against the LAFC, who did not bring their best to Colorado. Colorado Rapids defeated LAFC 3-2 on the backs of about a 1.6 XG by Colorado. Goals were scored by Moise Bombido and a brace by Georgi Mihailovic, who made his Colorado Rapids striking debut. He was signed from Colorado Rapids earlier this season, and this was kind of his debut goal-scoring outburst. And on the backs of 3 goals, they defeated LAFC, who had goals by Edward Atuesta and David Martinez. But David Martinez also had a red card in this match. So there was a lot that went into the fact that Colorado was able to overcome LAFC in this regard. The brace, the 18-year-old David Martinez goal, and red card that led directly to Georgi Mihailovic's second goal. The next match that we're looking at is LA Galaxy against Seattle Sounders. This one had an early goal by Gabriel Chavez from LA Galaxy, and they were just able to hold on to defeat the Seattle Sounders. In a few minutes, we're going to look at the standings to see where both teams stack up after match day 7 in MLS. But it's easy to see that the Seattle Sounders team that's playing in 2024 is not finding net as often as they need to and is not living up to expectations. Third, we have the Vancouver Whitecaps against the Portland Timbers in a match that MLSsoccer.com referred to as the match to watch of this match day. It was high octane. Vancouver Whitecaps defeated the Portland Timbers 3-2. 2.5 XG from Vancouver to 1.1 Portland. This was a match that Vancouver controlled for large portions. They started it early with a goal by Ryan Gauld at 2 minutes. Fafa Picault had a goal at 29, and then Ryan Raposo finished it off at the 87th minute to put them ahead. But this was really a back and forth match. You had Vancouver going up 2-0, and then Portland came back to tie it 2-2 on the goals of Evander and Felipe Mora before the Ryan Raposo goal to end it and get Vancouver those 3 points. Philadelphia Union against Minnesota United is our fourth match, where this was a match very much dominated by Philadelphia Union. They won the XG battle 2.1 to 0.6. Daniel Gazdag had the goal scoring to open the match at 16, and Julian Carranza at 84 was the nail in the coffin. Minnesota drops to just 3-1-1 as they pick up their first loss of the season, and Philadelphia gains a much-needed second win of the year. Finally, we're looking at Austin FC against FC Dallas. Austin FC famous this year for their inability to do anything to put the ball on net, and FC Dallas now famous this year for not having a win in the month of March. Julio Cascante, who City fans might remember the name of a goal-scoring defender, scored the second goal of this game for Austin FC to even it at 1-1. And then Diego Rubio was the one who put them ahead at the 70th minute to finish it 2-1. Notable on the FC Dallas side is that Eugene Ansah started in place of an injured Jesus Ferreira, and he was the goal scorer for FC Dallas at the 51-minute mark. So FC Dallas coming into this game against City next week, which we'll preview in full on Flyover Footy later this week, but they are not coming in good form at all. In addition to a couple matches that we look at, we also want to take a look at some of the standings because a lot has been made of St. Louis's first loss this past week, and their overall picture in MLS is important to keep in mind. And so this is something that I've wanted to do for a bit. Looking at the standings, you can obviously go to MLSsoccer.com, but as you hear about it, it's very tightly congested after match day 7. Most teams have played 6 games. St. Louis has 7 points, and they're sitting tied for 8th with the aforementioned Portland Timbers and LAFC. LA Galaxy lead the Western Conference with 12 points, and Seattle Sounders are the basement dwellers with 2 points. So 10 points might separate all of the teams, but we're talking about LA Galaxy with 12, Vancouver, Salt Lake, Minnesota, and Houston all tied with 10 points. Sporting Kansas City with 9, Colorado Rapids with 8, Portland Timbers, LAFC, St. Louis with 7, Austin FC with 6, and FC Dallas with 3. To round out the Western Conference, you get a picture that teams are starting to spread themselves out. You're having teams significantly struggle early, like Austin, Dallas, San Jose, and Seattle, who are all below St. Louis. But also looking at some stats inside of these teams, such as goals for, the amount of goals scored. St. Louis is actually second in the Western Conference behind only the LA Galaxy, who have 13 goals scored, and St. Louis has 11. Goals against is where St. Louis has had a bit of a tumble after this RSL game, allowing 3 goals. They're now double digit, and they've allowed the second most goals in the Western Conference behind the San Jose Earthquakes, who have allowed 13. The Eastern Conference has just a bit more of a spread because the New England Revolution only have 1 point, but overall, they're looking about the same. If St. Louis were in the Eastern Conference, we'd be tied for 10th, just a couple points behind home field advantage potentially in the playoffs. So things are still really tight. 6 match days in. St. Louis, in fact, is only one of, I believe, 7 teams to have lost 1 single game or less. It's just the LA Galaxy, it's Vancouver Whitecaps, it's Minnesota United, Houston Dynamo, Sporting Kansas City, and St. Louis City. So 6 teams having lost 1 game or less, St. Louis among them. Good company so far. Still some things to write that we'll preview on Flyover later this week. But the other thing that we wanted to look at is shots on target, expected goals, things like that as we sit after match day 7. St. Louis has a pretty good indication of how they're performing as far as overall volume of shots on target, and those types of numbers in the overall MLS landscape. They're still sitting pretty high in number of shots. Right now, they are currently 6th in shots, total shots in MLS, behind LAFC, DC United, Orlando, Inter Miami, and Real Salt Lake. On shots on target, they are still in that top echelon, although top half, having only 24 shots on target, whereas LAFC, LA Galaxy have 38. So obviously the shots on better could be a little better. Their expected goals through 6 games, top half of MLS. 7.9 expected goals through the first 7 games, 7 match days in MLS. Now you're looking at teams like DC United, Inter Miami, LA Galaxy, LAFC, who are in double digits. Everybody else, single digit expected goals. Again, still very tightly congested as we go into match day 7 for St. Louis, match day 8 for MLS. hopefully this has been a little bit of an insight into the larger MLS landscape as St. Louis City performs themselves. And you might not get as much of a look broad into just specifically the Western Conference stats, standings, most recent fixture results. And hopefully this helps out a little bit. We're going to try to do this every week if we can, but let us know how we're doing on social media. Follow us at Flyover Footy. Thank you again for Noble Ice Vineyards for sponsoring us. Really appreciate that. And we'll be back again for a preview of FC Dallas later this week. Thanks and have a good one.